Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the D-Shift podcast. And today we have two experts on. They're going to talk about something that is really important, and that is how interrelated a lot of the issues in divorce are and how it really helps to work with professionals who are knowledgeable and able to guide you through both the complex negotiation, communication, conflict resolution part of the divorce, as well as the financial aspects. So I want to introduce you to Keri Gwynne, and I'm reading from my notes so I don't mess it up, hopefully this time. She is a certified divorce coach and the CEO of Starting Point by Freedom, a comprehensive divorce service providing coaching, mediation, and family guidance. Keri is also a high conflict and transitional divorce specialist. And we had just mentioned how similar that is to the background that I provide for my clients. I also have with me today Ryan Finley. He is the founder of Freedom Financial Services Group. He has over 20 years of experience in executive leadership and financial accounting. Ryan is a CPA, a CDFA, and a CVA, which is a certified valuation analyst. And Ryan is also a court-appointed mediator. So you can see this is a very comprehensive package of services that they're able to offer. So I want to welcome you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Well, and thank you for being on here, because I really think sharing with people that are getting into this process, the options that are out there. I mean, it's not anymore where you just go hire an attorney and go through your divorce. There's lots of other professionals that can help. So before we get into the nitty gritty of what we're here to talk about, Keri and Ryan, can you just share a little bit about what got you into this very specialized area of supporting people through divorce?
Oh, sure. I'll go ahead and start on that. Unfortunately, I went through a very difficult marriage. I was an executive at the time. I have three incredible children that I was raising. I was also in a blended family at the time. I was the lead of our women's Bible group at church, but at home was a totally different story. So at home, I was in an extremely abusive marriage. There was domestic violence. It was escalating, with alcohol. Each night became literally a living nightmare. I never knew what was going to happen. I began to lose my ability to talk. I was starting to stutter. Neurologically, I was falling apart from the fear of that relationship. I actually got to a point after a concussion that I lost the ability to walk. So when I went to see neurologists, they had no idea why my brain wasn't healing, what was going on. And unfortunately, I couldn't tell them because he was often there in those meetings with me. So when I finally got to a breaking point, and literally I told no one except my best friend who would call and check in. But God began to bring me angels, and those angels were as simple as I went to see my hairdresser one day, and I had lost, I guess, a lot of weight, and I finally felt safe enough to tell my story. Her husband quickly came and we got an order of protection. I was granted that, but then what came after that order of protection was a 2-year-long divorce. Extremely difficult. My site alone cost over $200,000. And that's because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
I struggled. I needed a coach, and there weren't any at that time. So through journaling, through healing, I created the foundation of Starting Point Divorce Advocacy that we launched in 2017. I was terrified. This is where my faith came in because I was an executive. I had a job that could absolutely take care of my family. But this was a calling and a mission that I felt had been laid on me. And I'll tell you, I remember looking at a dear friend and saying, I hope phone rings. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah.
So here we are. We have now served over 550 people. We have just now launched our second location. This one is called Starting Point by Freedom. It is located in Sarasota, Florida. And this one is a deeper dive, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah, exciting, exciting. Brian, we need to hear your story a little too.
Okay. All right. My story began with a financial background. I was an auditor out of college. I worked for a golf company and I was in new business development acquisition. So from the financial perspective, it allowed me to go out and evaluate businesses and look at balance sheets and income statements and be able to look and see if what a value is, how to read financials, how to be able to analyze everything pretty quickly. And from that, I've moved into real estate and construction, and I've been a CFO for about the last 25, 30 years. And I like doing that work. I learned a lot about it. And then I met Keri about 5 years ago, and we were friends, and she said, "Hey, I've got this case. It's a really complicated financial situation. I'd like you to come in and look at it and just explain to me what this is." And so I went over and met the client and helped her analyze this financial situation and was able to explain it in a way, a complicated situation, in a way that they both understand it, made it clear. And it took so much pressure off them as once they understand the financial situation, then it's not the stress. A lot of the stress goes away. Now there's still emotional stress and everything, but once you provide clarity to the situation, it helps tremendously. And so I started helping Keri with that in the evenings and on the weekends. And I'm like, hey, I like doing this. I like, it's fulfilling to me from an emotional perspective is that you see somebody come in and I'll say they're at financially ground zero where they know nothing going on and you've got all this chaos, with kids and friends and family and everything. And, just to be able to bring calm to this storm and see this person progress as the divorce process goes through, as they get clarity on their financial situation and realize that, hey, I'm going to be okay after this divorce. Ryan's explained my financial situation. He's helped me with an allocation of assets. Now I know what I need to ask for in alimony. I'm going to be okay. So to see somebody that is coming in and they don't know which way's up, to see them progress in confidence through this process. And at the end of the process, they're like, man, thank you. You guys have changed my life. And just hearing that makes it worthwhile. And it just fulfills you. And then when you see somebody on the street, you can't really tell them how you know them, but they're like, man, I'm so thankful for you. And you're like, well, I appreciate that. So
Yeah, and thank you. This is so uplifting, I think, to hear this because I think one of the reasons people get so adversarial is over fear of the future, and that really boils down to finances. And it's terrible when people go through experiences like yours, Keri. I mean, that was absolutely horrific. But sometimes people stay in those relationships because they fear that they've been in that financial abuse where they don't even know what's in the family.
Absolutely.
They've not been given access to the information, and having somebody who can just come in and talk people through that who maybe don't have a financial background, and also having the support from somebody who is trained in high conflict divorce and helping people get out of those situations. What a phenomenal resource for everybody.
Well, and let me add one thing too. You both are divorce coaches. And what people don't realize when someone's going through a divorce is it's worse than a death. It's something that continues to go on. I mean, death is bad, but death, everybody comes together. They support you. They're grieving with you.
You retell the good. You remember the good. Yes.
A divorce, it's you and your ex-best friend going head to head, and it divides friends, it divides families, it divides everything. And people are afraid to talk to you because they don't want to make the other person mad. And so to have a divorce coach in this process it's amazing. put the value from a financial perspective. It's hard to put a value on what that means to these people.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for saying that. So let's jump right into something that you said, Ryan, that I think will lead nicely into this question. That I know one of the things that you help people do, both from a financial perspective and a strategic decision making, emotional regulation point of view, is helping people get prepared for mediation. Because let's face it, over 85% of divorces are resolved in mediation. They don't go to court, despite what you think by watching TV or hearing the news. The vast majority of divorces are resolved through mediation. So what are some of the things that you both think are helpful for people to know if they're scheduling mediation? Because that can be really scary too. Most people haven't been through mediation. I've been a mediator for over 30 years. And I know you can just see that deer in the headlight look when people come in and they don't know what they don't know in the mediation as well.
Exactly. And we're both mediators as well. So I'm a domestic violence mediator as well as a family mediator. And you do family, and he's a financial mediator, which I think is an unbelievable asset. But you're exactly right. People don't know what they don't know. And so when they work with us, whether it's through mediation, which we will give them guidance on what that process looks like, we explain this extremely neutral. But if they're not using, especially me as a mediator, but they have me in their back pocket as coach, we're going to talk through how to best be prepared. So not only are you bringing your financials, not only do you have the latest statements, your marital balance sheet, your budget, which we have prepared ahead of time, you're also bringing things that make you feel comfort. These are going to be pictures of your children. These are things that smell good. It's music, because the way that we do mediation is caucus, especially someone like me who's very sensitive to others who have any kind of domestic violence. And as many people don't realize, there are 8 forms of domestic violence, like you were saying earlier: financial, there's spiritual, there's verbal, there's many besides physical. I'm very attuned to making sure that each party has a voice. Right. So we keep them in separate rooms. And there they have the opportunity to talk with the mediator or talk with one of us about what they really want or what they really need. And so they need to be prepared walking into mediation with, what is it that I actually want? Can I actually afford to keep the family home? Have I, talked to a lender about refinancing? Can I afford that? The closing costs on top of paying, buying out my spouse. I mean, there's just so many details. But I think when you can coach someone through that and they're prepared, and then I also specialize in parenting plans, when I can talk to them about all their options and what could work best for their child, then suddenly you're walking into your mediation feeling so much more confident. Not, I'm going to win, woohoo. It's never that. That isn't what mediation is. But it's, what can I still live on and still feel like I've given?
Right.
What's best for my children and for us as co-parents?
And I'll add, from a financial perspective, for those not familiar with mediation, as Keri discussed in brief, that a mediator will come and meet with one person individually, and then the other person. And back and forth, there's proposals that go back and forth. This person will submit a proposal, they'll take it over to the other side and they'll evaluate it. From a financial perspective, one of the things that I do, and the value I think I add, is as we get that proposal, I'll put it up on a spreadsheet and I'll explain it to the client and the attorney and just say, okay, that change, here's what that change looks like financially. And so we'll look at, on instead of just getting it on paper, said, well, that will give you this and you take that. I put mine on usually there's a big monitor, a big TV screen. It's about a 55-inch television so everybody can see it, and I'll highlight it, in colors a lot of times, and just say, here's the change. Here's how that change affects you, whether it's a reallocation of assets or a change in alimony payments. And so we'll look, here's your monthly expenses. if you get this alimony with your job and this child support, this is how it's going to fall out at the bottom. So, again, it's clarity and knowledge. It's informing your client and the attorney in most cases that here's what we need to have to post divorce to be able to, I don't want to say survive, but to live comfortably, to enjoy this lifestyle, to not stress about, month to month payments. And then how do you structure that? There's alimony can be different things. It can be a payment each month. It could be a lump sum, and there's different. The thing that I add again is financial flexibility.
Right.
What's best for this client? What's best now and what's best in the future. So we evaluate that.
And that's really comprehensive, because it's almost like, you're combining the best of collaborative law and mediation and financial advice all in one session. And
that's exactly right.
Now, do you typically, for mediation, do you all typically do like 1 4-hour, 8-hour block, or do you break it up into multiple sessions, or is it client dependent, or how does that work?
There's two things. I mean, there's us as mediators, and then there's us as litigation support. We're in the mediation supporting one side. So if we're either one, I guess if we're mediators, usually it's an 8-hour day, and sometimes that'll bleed over to another day. If it's us in litigation support, we're in there for as long as they want. We may start at 9 and end at 10 o'clock at night, but we're in there providing clarity and information to our clients.
Right.
And then they may reschedule that if it doesn't go over. But so it's usually big blocks of time.
Okay. And I know, so every mediator does things a little bit differently. I've been trained in a lot of different models, but I mostly use the transformative model. I don't do domestic violence mediation. So I expect my clients to spend most of their time in joint session. And I do occasionally have financial people come in and do the big screen presentation. And that's cool, because as people are discussing, you can watch the numbers changing, and it's so empowering for both people to be able to see that, because especially with your experience as a CDFA, you can kind of do those long projections and see, okay, what's the tax implications for these and things. And that's going to be so comforting for your clients to see that.
And I've seen it, Marty, where somebody, when they walk in, they're so opposed to this or so opposed to that. And then when they see it on a big spreadsheet, or they see the impact of it, it's like, well, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And, you're able to overcome a lot of obstacles when they understand the situation.
Right.
And to add on to that too, I don't even care how prepared you are. You will still be rattled. You're going to feel maybe PTSD. You may be going right back into trauma. So to have someone like Ryan mediating, who puts it on the big screen, you're going to forget the details. You may go, oh my gosh, I don't quite get it. Oh my gosh. But Ryan will show you again and explain it kindly and gently why this makes sense, tax consequences associated with it. And then you watch it move, and it's like, okay. And you start to, settle. Your nervous system starts to settle. But, that part is so helpful.
Yes. And let's touch a little bit, if you don't mind, on the co-parenting plans, because I know the finances are a big one. And sometimes if both parents just agree to put their kids first, the finances sort of resolve themselves. So I don't know if you have a preference for doing one or the other first, but let's talk a little bit about the co-parenting plans and how that fits in.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it depends upon how a client uses our service. So if a client comes to me directly, it could be the wife, or the husband. If they come to me directly and they want me to just work with them directly to prepare them for mediation by someone else, we're going to walk through every piece of it. So we're going to get the parenting plan out based on that state. We get calls nationally. We're going to start to talk through children's schedules. We're going to talk through what works best for spending time with that child each holiday. We're literally going to walk through each piece of it. We're also going to take on cases and really think through children with neurodivergent special needs, anxiety. There are some children who've spent all their time with mom. She was a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled them while dad was out of the house. We're going to really be thoughtful about how to gradually get that parenting time back.
Right.
And make it something that's very enjoyable for that child, something they look forward to as opposed to something they fear.
Right.
So there isn't 1 inch of this that we don't start to think through, step through. And I have a number of worksheets and planning sheets that we walk through. And then I give our clients homework. It's just a little bit of homework each week where they really feel it's not just leaning on me to get what they need, but they are actively involved, which then becomes a confidence builder.
Right.
In what's best for their child, but also what's best for their family and co-parenting. So they're ready.
Yeah. And typically, I don't care how good your co-parenting plan is. I know people say, I've talked to co-parenting specialists who say, I write a plan that's ironclad that's going to get the kid from 2 to 18. You cannot predict what's going to happen. So if parents have the confidence, hey, we did this before, we can sit down, we can talk
Exactly.
about how we need to change. As long as you both agree, you don't have to go back to court. It's when you don't agree that you're going to end up back in that litigation process.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm constantly reminding our parents, you all have to co-parent together the rest of your lives.
Yeah.
So how you handle your divorce, which is why we hope people will come to us first, starting point. Let's get your head on straight. Let's get your goals prepared. Let's get you out of that trauma of, oh my gosh, and this fear into, all right, let's calm down. Let's really think this through. Let's get a strategy, because how you handle that divorce absolutely determines not only the outcome of it, how much money you still have in your pockets at the end of it, but how you co-parent as in the future.
Yes.
How you go to that wedding together in the future.
And the arrival of the grandchildren,
Absolutely.
Do you want to be standing there fighting in the hospital when you're seeing your grandchild for the first time?
Right. You want your children on their incredible day of their wedding,
right?
Worried about you two who can't sit in the same pew together or whatever it is.
I know it's an old movie, but I always tell my clients, go watch War of the Roses and see just how bad things can get. It's a humorous view of it, but not really, right? It's not that far off how some people approach the whole process of divorce.
And you're right. It's not far off from some cases we've seen. It's sometimes from a financial perspective, they completely ignore the financial side of it. All they're concerned about is getting even or one-upping that person, no matter what it costs. And it's like, you want to pull them aside and just say, take a step back. Let's take the emotion out of this decision. Let's just look at what's best for you this year, next year, 5 years, and 10 years. And, just forgive,
Yeah.
Right.
And you're so right, Ryan. Thank you for mentioning that, because that's the big weapon is the money. I think a lot of times in divorce, money and kids, those are the two things that get leveraged a lot of times by people. Yeah. We have covered so much, and there's so much yet to cover. We're definitely going to have you both back again for more in detailed conversation about some of this stuff. But of what we've covered today, and I'm going to ask you separately, Keri and Ryan, what do you think are from your perspective, what's the one thing you want people to remember as they go about their day today?
Your divorce doesn't define you. This is just part of your journey. You're in transition, and you will not only survive this, but you'll be shocked at how you can create this whole new life that is even better for you and more healthy for you.
Ryan?
I've got two things. If this is a complicated divorce, build your team. Get an attorney, get a financial person, get a divorce coach.
Absolutely.
And if you need a therapist. So, there's things, it's an emotional, financial, it's a big puzzle, and you need all these different pieces to go through this. The other thing I'd like to say is, you see, there's life after divorce, and there's a good life after divorce. Nobody plans on going through divorce, and a lot of people, it blindsides them. And so they have to remember that We run into clients a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and they are as happy as can be. This is a tunnel. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. They going through a divorce, they are just now going through the tunnel.
Yeah.
There is light. We see some people and they're the happiest they've ever been in their life. So just keep that in mind, pray about it, and just things will work out.
Yeah. Thank you for both of you for those both uplifting messages. I think that's fantastic. Now I'm going to ask you each what is the best way to get hold of you, and where is your website if people want to find out more information? So I'm going to leave that up to whoever wants to go first with that one.
Okay. So if you want to have a first start, if you're just really needing some coaching and really need some help through this, start at startingpointfreedom.com. In there, there'll be a questionnaire. It'll be a really brief questionnaire for a free consult. And that way, when you meet with us or anyone on our team, they'll know exactly how to help you right off the bat.
And the way to get a hold of me is through my website. It's www.freedomfsg.com. And similar to hers, there's a consultation button. You'll click on that, fill out a form, and then we'll get back in contact with you. And then that allows us to know about your situation. And we'll be able, when we call you back and talk to you, we're familiar with your situation. So it's a more productive call. My phone number, for those that want to reach me that way, is 941-945-2846.
Thank you so much. And I will make sure all of that information gets in the show notes, because I know if people are like me, they're listening to podcasts while they're, cleaning the house or driving in the car or whatever. So I will make sure that all that gets in the show notes. And thank you both so much for being here and sharing your expertise and wisdom. And I love the idea of a comprehensive group of services like you are able to offer for your clients. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of The D Shift. And don't forget to tune in to the next one. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.